Hi, my name is Rachel Morgan, and I'm 29 years old. Last week, I opened an ivory envelope expecting love, maybe a check to help with my wedding. Instead, a folded bill slipped out. $20. $20. For my sister's wedding last year, my parents wired $120,000, hosted 300 guests, even hired a string quartet. For mine, they sent a $20 bill and a card that said, "Make it special." I sat on the edge of my bed, veil draped across my lap, hands shaking. That was the moment I realized my marriage wasn't the only thing on trial. Favoritism didn't start with weddings. It seeped into every corner of my childhood. On Rachel's 8th birthday, I got a store-bought sheet cake with 2 friends. Chelsea's 7th birthday the year before had pony rides, balloons, 30 kids running wild. Mom told me, "You're independent, Rachel. Chelsea needs more attention." Independent, code for invisible. In high school, I stood on stage, valedictorian, giving a speech on dreams. The family seats were empty. My parents were at Chelsea's soccer tournament instead. When I asked, Dad shrugged. "We'll watch the recording." The VHS tape stayed sealed on my dresser until I left for college. Chelsea needed encouragement, they said. I didn't. At graduation, Chelsea's art portfolio was displayed in the living room. My engineering scholarship letter was shoved in a drawer, forgotten. I worked nights in the campus bookstore, stretched scholarships, skipped meals to cover tuition. Chelsea explored Europe to find herself, fully funded by the same parents. "You've always known who you are," Dad told me over the phone. Code for, "You don't deserve exploration, only sacrifice." I remember the Christmas I brought home gifts I bought with 3 paychecks. A leather briefcase for Dad. A silver bracelet Mom admired. For Chelsea, a professional camera lens. They unwrapped them quickly, then handed me a $10 gift card and a half-empty stocking. "You're the practical one," Mom said brightly. Practical, code for not worth the effort. I learned early. If Chelsea cried, the world stopped. If I cried, they told me to hush. Every milestone, birthdays, graduations, promotions, was either ignored or diminished. Each memory stacked like bricks, building a wall between me and their approval. By the time the $20 check arrived, it wasn't just insulting. It was confirmation of a lifetime truth I'd never wanted to face. And I realized my wedding day would not be the first betrayal. 3 weeks before my wedding, I waited for my parents to call. No offer to host a rehearsal dinner, no talk of flowers or family. Chelsea's wedding had a full committee, mom, aunts, cousins, all buzzing with excitement. Mine had silence. I emailed details about the ceremony, the guest list, the timeline. The reply came 2 days later. "We'll be there if we can." If we can. I reread the words until my eyes blurred with disbelief. Mom texted again. "Don't expect too much. Weddings are expensive. Chelsea already drained us." Expensive. As if my $6,000 budget, saved over years, was extravagance. Chelsea's $120,000 reception at a vineyard had never been called wasteful. At work, my colleagues asked about the dress, the flowers, the honeymoon. I learned to smile and lie. Because the truth, that my family saw my wedding as an inconvenience, was unbearable. The week before, Mom finally called. Her voice was brisk, practical. "Rachel, could you pick up your grandmother from the airport? We're busy helping Chelsea move." Helping Chelsea move, on the week of my wedding. I stared at my phone, heartbeat pounding, and said nothing. They wanted me to chauffeur while wearing my veil. My fiancé, Daniel, watched my face pale. "They're using you again," he whispered, anger flashing in his eyes. But I still clung to a fragile hope. Maybe on the day, they'd show pride. Maybe they'd surprise me with love, not calculation. The morning of the wedding, I peeked from the dressing room window. Rows of empty chairs stretched across the garden. Half the family hadn't come. Later, I learned many skipped because Chelsea wasn't the bride. My chest tightened as I held the bouquet, my hands trembling. Daniel's mother squeezed my shoulder, whispering, "Don't look for them. Look at us." And for the first time, I felt the truth. Family could be chosen. Still, when I opened that ivory envelope later, I prayed. Prayed for proof they cared, even a little. Instead, $20 fell into my lap. $20 against years of sacrifice. I stared at the bill until the ink blurred, shame and fury colliding. The laughter of guests echoed outside, but inside I felt hollow, forgotten. And that bill became the symbol that turned disappointment into fury. The $20 bill haunted me for weeks after the wedding. Every time I opened my wallet, the wrinkled bill stared back, not as money but as a verdict. My worth measured in pocket change. Then, one afternoon, Daniel found me staring at it again. Rachel, he said gently, this isn't about the money. It's about truth. That night, I finally opened the family group chat. Photos from Chelsea's wedding filled the screen. Lavish, glittering, curated perfection. There were spreadsheets, receipts, transfers, all proudly shared last year. But for mine, silence. And then I noticed something that made my blood freeze. A screenshot of a bank transfer, dated just weeks before my wedding. 15,000 wired from my parents to Chelsea. The memo line, for design studio launch, congratulations, sweetheart. 15,000. While I carried a $20 bill folded in a greeting card. My chest tightened, my vision swam. This wasn't just neglect. It was theft of celebration, of recognition, of dignity. I confronted Mom on the phone, my voice shaking. You had money. You gave it to Chelsea. Why nothing for me? Her tone was calm, almost bored. Rachel, you're responsible. You don't need help. Chelsea does. Responsible. That word again, sharpened into a knife. You think I didn't need love? Support? Just once? Silence stretched until Dad spoke. We can't fund 2 weddings. You should be proud of your independence. Proud. I nearly dropped the phone. Independence twisted into justification for abandonment. That night, I pulled out my old photo albums. Page after page, the evidence screamed louder than their excuses. Chelsea's birthdays with castles and ponies. Mine with sheet cakes and plastic forks. Her graduation trip to Paris. My scholarship letter shoved in a drawer. And now her $120,000 wedding plus another $15,000 gift. My $20 bill. The bricks of betrayal stacked higher, threatening to crush me. Daniel sat beside me, his arms strong around my shoulders. You don't have to prove anything to them, he whispered. But I wanted to. For once, I wanted them to face the truth. The $20 bill lay on the table, beside the album. Proof of a lifetime pattern. And I knew the next confrontation would not end with silence. The $20 bill stayed on my nightstand, a constant reminder. But this time, it didn't crush me. It fueled me. I gathered photo albums, old letters, bank statements, years of quiet evidence. Proof of favoritism hidden under excuses and smiles. Daniel watched as I stacked them in a folder, his jaw tight. They've never listened before, he warned. What makes this time different? I slid the $20 bill into the front pocket. Because now, I whispered, they can't deny what's in black and white. The confrontation came 2 weeks later at Sunday dinner. Mom and Dad sat at the head of the table, Chelsea glowing beside them. Platters of food filled the table, but I couldn't taste anything. My folder rested heavy on my lap. Finally, I placed it in the center, pages fanning out. What's this? Dad asked, suspicion already creeping into his voice. Proof, I said. Mom laughed lightly, but the sound cracked. Rachel, must we drag up old wounds? Yes, I answered. Because you never let them heal. I opened the first album, sliding it across the table. Chelsea's birthday with ponies, princess crowns, and 30 kids in party hats. Next page, my birthday, a sheet cake, 2 friends, plastic forks. The color drained from Chelsea's face. I pulled out the bank statement, 15,000 wired just weeks before my wedding. To Chelsea's studio, I said, voice steady. And for me? I laid the $20 bill beside it. This is what my marriage was worth to you. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Dad's face turned red. Mom's hands trembled. Chelsea looked away. You've always been independent, Dad muttered. That's your excuse? I shot back. Independence isn't love. Independence isn't fairness. Daniel reached under the table, squeezing my hand. I drew a deep breath, years of silence breaking at last. I'm not asking for equality anymore. I'm demanding respect. The room pulsed with unspoken tension, every eye fixed on me. Mom's fork clattered against her plate, the sound unnerving in the silence. Chelsea twisted her napkin until threads tore, her lips pressed thin. Dad leaned back, his chair creaking, arms crossed like a wall. For years, that wall silenced me. But tonight, I spoke through it. You've mistaken endurance for consent, I said, my voice hardening. You've mistaken responsibility for love. That ends now. The chandelier above flickered, casting shadows across their faces. It felt like a trial, and for once I wasn't the defendant. I was the witness, the prosecutor, and the verdict combined. Mom whispered, Rachel, we gave what we could. No, I replied. You gave what you chose, and you chose her. The folder lay open between us, undeniable, irreversible, and I wasn't leaving until they finally heard my voice. The silence after my words lingered like smoke in the dining room. Dad stared at the folder of receipts and photos, his jaw clenched. Mom's eyes brimmed with tears, but for once, no excuses followed. Chelsea looked at me, pale, guilt flickering across her face. For years, I begged for recognition. Tonight, I demanded it. I stood, pushing back my chair with deliberate calm. "I'm not here to compete with Chelsea," I said evenly. "I'm here to claim my worth." My voice didn't shake this time. Daniel's hand rested lightly on my back, solid and steady. "I won't measure myself by what you give or withhold," I continued. "I measure myself by what I've built, what I've endured." The $20 bill lay on the table, small yet undeniable. Not just a gift, but a verdict, one I refused to accept. Mom whispered, "Rachel, we never meant to hurt you." Intent doesn't erase impact. That truth rang louder than her apology. Dad started to speak, but I raised my hand. "I don't need more words. I need change." The room pulsed with tension, every breath heavy with unspoken history. I will not be the responsible one who carries everyone anymore. If you want a relationship with me, it must be built on respect. Daniel rose with me, his presence an anchor. I gathered the folder, leaving the $20 bill behind. "Keep it," I told them. A reminder of the moment I stopped being silent. As I walked out, the night air felt sharp and alive. For the first time, I wasn't defined by absence or lack. I was defined by choice. Later, in the quiet of my apartment, I placed a new bill in a jar. Not $20, but 100 crisp and unbent. Each week I'd add another, symbols of my boundaries, my worth. Because healing wasn't about waiting for their love. It was about building my own. And maybe, just maybe, sharing it with people who chose me back. So I ask you, have you ever had to walk away to find yourself? If you've lived through something similar, you're not alone. Let's talk about it below. Sometimes the smallest bill can teach the biggest lesson about worth. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Don't forget to subscribe for more true family betrayal stories that remind us we are stronger than we think.